Hello and welcome back to Redirecting. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to Sister Michelle for sharing this particular story with us. Very interesting to those of you who are excited about the return to Ghana. You may want to listen to this, okay? It basically says, and the article is found on Face to Face Africa, their website, but it says Israel turns to Ghana to back its bid for a seat at the African Union. My. And in the image here, you see Benjamin Netanyahu with the president of Ghana. And they are basically in conversation. So you got to ask yourself, why would Netanyahu want a seat at the African Union? Israel turns to Ghana to back its bid for a seat at the African Union. And so we got to understand that when we ask you to pause, and when we say that we should pause before doing things, now even though Ghana is offering land, this is something a little different than what the AU was offering. We continue to say this. It is still one of those things that you have to proceed with caution on, okay? Because why would the Jewish people want a seat on the African Union? Because these people are in close alliance. They have a relationship with Western powers. And the scripture talked about when we go back to our promised land, that we are going to be ruling. Do you see that happening anywhere on the continent of Africa? Yes, you may have African leaders, but behind the scenes, someone else is running the show. You can best believe that. Now, that may not be the case for every African country, but for the vast majority of them, there is a connection to Western powers or even Eastern powers, because the Chinese are taking over. Now, I'm going to go ahead and read some of this article. And this is for those who have an ear to hear and to understand and decipher that you cannot move on emotions, but you must move by the leading of the Most High Yah. Let Him lead you. He will lead you and guide you into all truth, into whatever direction that you must go. He says, "In all thy ways acknowledge me, and I will direct your path." This is what the Most High says. And so I'm going to go ahead and read some of this article, and I'll let you draw your own conclusion as to whether or not we need to be trying to even go to Ghana. Israel has called on the Ghanaian government to back its bid for an observer status in the African Union. Observer status. What do you need to observe? You mean keep your nose in our business? Poke your nose in our business? And when I say our business, I know that we don't live in Africa. I'm talking about so-called black people, so-called melanated people. They want to poke their noses in the business of so-called black people worldwide. Okay. Observer seat. Observer status. Okay. Which it lost in 2002 when the former Organization of African Union was dissolved and replaced by the AU. So basically they had a former organization that dissolved. Why did it dissolve? It was replaced by the AU. And so he didn't lose his seat because the Africans kicked him out, but because the old organization was resolved. Okay. The request was made to Ghana's Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, Shirley Akoyor, sorry about that, family, Bachwe, who is in Jerusalem on an unofficial visit at the invitation of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. According to Avram Nagais, an Ethiopian Jew and chairman of the Likud coalition party in the Israeli Knesset, who met with the delegation, African and Israelites, a relationship that dates back to thousands of years. Okay. And it is time to come together, reports local Ghanaian media, 3 News. I got to say something on that real quick. He says that they say that the relationship between Africa and Israel dates back thousands of years. Interesting. Now, the reason why I'm laughing at that is because they're trying to say, oh yeah, we were the Israelites and we dealt with the Africans. We dealt with, the Egyptians and all this. They're trying to say it from that perspective, but deep down inside, they know really that the relationship that they had with our people thousands of years ago, some of you may not believe in the whole Jacob and Esau thing, but that's what many of us do believe. Okay, it wasn't that they were the Israelites, these Jews, they were Esau. Okay, and they know that we are the true Israelites. This is why they are dealing with our people in certain regions of Africa. This is why those so-called Jews will go over to the Limba tribe. It's not because they believe that they are family or that they are a Jewish tribe. They know that they are a Jewish tribe, but they really deep down inside know that they are not. Okay? And so I thought that was kind of interesting how they want to say that our relationship or the relationship between Israel and Africa dates back thousands of years. Okay, now he also added that the readmission of Israel to the AU as an observer will help attract Israeli investment in Africa. A similar call was made by Netanyahu during his visits to Liberia to attend the ECOWAS Head of State Summit in 2017, and then to Rwanda, Kenya, and Uganda. So we talked about in another video how the Chinese are over there just setting up roots and doing all kinds of things, right? But now you have the Israelis trying to get back in there. You have white people who are already there, already have a stronghold in many nations in Africa. You have the people of India. So all of these outside nations are just swarming into Africa, setting up roots, investing, buying this, buying that, doing this, doing that, because they have the money, first of all, and they have the power and the clout, right? They are doing all of these things, And we think that that's where the Most High told us to go back to. He said that when we go back to our land, that we weren't going to have to deal with these people like that. We weren't going to have to deal with them like that. What scripture says that when we go back into our promised land, that these other nations were going to still be ruling over us, living alongside us, actually above us because they have the money, and that we were still going to be in poverty, living in squalor in many cases? You got to show me that in scripture because I don't see it. Scripture says that when we go back into our land, it's going to be as a Garden of Eden before us and desolation behind us. Okay? It didn't say that we were going to move into desolation among people of other nations who were going to still be risen above us, living around us good, and we were going to be living in squalor. That's not what the Bible said. Anyway, let me get back to some more of this article. Okay. It says, Israel should once again be an observer state of the African Union. I fervently believe that it's in your interest too, in the interest of Africa. And I hope all of you will support that goal. Netanyahu told West African leaders in Monrovia last year. He said, it's in your best interest too. He said, it's in our best interest, but it's in your best interest too. It's going to be interesting to see if our people are going to be wooed by those words. If they're going to say, okay, we'll do it. Because it's like they're promising something. They're saying, look, we want to invest in Africa. We want to invest in Africa. As usual, everyone wants a piece of the pie in Africa. Now, don't get it confused with what they are offering us. The AU is offering us to send money over there, and that they will control the funds that we send. But do you think that what Netanyahu is saying is that he wants to turn money over to the AU? These other nations, they are going over there and they are doing what they want to do. They are not being asked to send money to be a part of the AU. We are being asked to buy a seat. They're not asking to buy a seat. Did you catch that? Netanyahu is not asking to buy a seat at the table. Netanyahu is saying, give us a seat at the table so that we can draw our investors to Africa. But what Africa is asking us to do is to buy a seat at the table, okay, in hopes that you will be a part of something. Hopes that you will be a part of something. Not that you're going to actually reap any benefits from it, but the hope of being a part of something. That is what is going on. Okay, let me read some more of the article. Israel strongly believes its absence in the African Union has affected the country in terms of votes in international forums as a result of the country's voice not being heard. Now, which country is he referring to? It says, Israel strongly believes its absence in the African Union has affected the country in terms of votes in international forums. Which country? Are you talking about Ghana? Or are you talking about Israel? If any of you know what he's talking about, please hit me up in the comment section. Which country? Because Africa is a continent. Okay, I know that he's talking to Ghana, but he's asking for a seat. He's asking for their support so that they can get back in to the AU. Okay, the African Union. I ask for your support in rejecting anti-Israel bias at the United Nations. Oh my goodness. He wants the Africans to help him because he feels like the United Nations is just being... Okay. Anti-Israel bias. Let me continue to read. And in bodies such as the General Assembly, UNESCO, and the Human Rights Council, he appealed while adding that Israel is a nation that loves and respects all. Okay, if anybody needs to take a break real quick and go laugh and roll on the floor, go ahead. If you need to go take a quick break and laugh, I truly understand because I want to do that too. And I'll do it after I'm done filming. In Israel, Jews, Christians, and Muslims live side by side as equal citizens. This is the real Israel. Jews, Christians, and Muslims. Okay, man, we know what's going on. We see how black people are treated. See, let me tell you something. They want to prey on the ignorance of people. Okay? They want you to stay ignorant when we know that they are mistreating so-called black people in the land of Israel. But he wants to say that they treat people all with love and respect. I didn't know these people were comedians. No one ever posted anything to me stating that this man was a comedian, because that's funny as hell to me. First of all, this push to make it seem like, oh, everybody is so anti-Israel. They're just so biased against us. We need help because the United Nations, they're just always so anti-us. Oh, help us. Help us because everyone is always persecuting us. We need a voice. We need you all to help us to be a voice at the United Nations and the General Assembly and UNESCO and the Human Rights Council, because we are just so persecuted as a people. Give me a break. Okay. It says rival state Palestine was granted an observer status in the African Union in 2013, and its leaders, Mahmoud Abbas, has addressed the union on a number of occasions. So they're saying, you let the Palestinians in, let us in too. If you let them in, we should be there too. A move Israel sees as a disadvantage since they will need the support of the giant bloc of 54 African countries to push through their expansion agenda into Palestinian territories. So they need the Africans, 54 African countries, to help them to push through their expansion agenda into Palestinian territories. So they're saying, so-called black people, Africans, we need you to help us to kick more Palestinians out of your land so that we can expand. I'm sorry, family, I have to interpret this as we go along. The Ghanaian minister assured Israel of Ghana's support and pledged to work hard to ensure... Now, this isn't a point where you can go laugh. This is a point where you can go and say, what in the world? Okay, so Ghana has pledged their support so that Israel gets her voice heard on the African continent. So we gonna help. Do Ghana know that we're the Israelites? So you want to help these people have their voices heard in the AU with the full support of Ghana, so Israel can get her voice heard on the continent of Africa. What are you trying to say on the continent of Africa? Stay sleep, dummies? Is that what you're trying to say? Stay sleep? Okay, let me just go ahead and get through this article. As a matter of fact, it's not much more, so I'm going to go ahead and finish it off. Meanwhile, Israel is keen on kicking out African asylum seekers. Yes. Okay, thank you Face to Face Africa for pointing that out. You're begging and groveling for the support of Africa while you're kicking out African asylum seekers. After unsuccessful threats of illegal deportation of the about 40,000 people, imprisonment, and even suspension of a relocation deal by the UN Refugee Agency to send them to Western countries. Now listen, they're there begging and groveling, and they are getting support pledged to them by the leaders of Ghana. After all that they are doing to our people in Israel, they're asking. This is because they know that they can depend on a docile-minded leadership in Africa to give them what they want, despite the fact that they are mistreating Africans. How much more of this can we stand without making or taking a stand? African leaders, black leaders here in the U.S., black leaders worldwide are a joke, and they are a laughing stock among our people. But yet, constantly we are asked to trust these people, look the other way when they are taking $1 billion that has been handed to them by people like this. These Western nations, these Chinese nations. You have members of the AU telling us, oh, forget about the corrupt black leader. Let's focus on them. While they're making side devil deals with these people, we are asked to just wait patiently and send our money to them. Okay, let's continue on. The country later introduced a new law in August 2018, which allows the withholding of 20% of salaries of African asylum seekers, which can only be reclaimed after they leave the country. So basically what they are saying is that if you're going to stay here, we're going to take out 20% of your salary, and you'll get it back when you get your black behind out of here. Okay, yep. This is what is happening in this world, but yet we as a people are so blind, mushy blind. Okay, you have Western powers dumbing us down, African people dumbing us down. And let me clarify what I mean by African people. I mean African leaders, not the people on the ground, because that is where my sympathy lies. But these lying African leaders and these people who are pushing the move to Africa, you are an enemy in my eyes, because you are dealing the scripture, the Bible that you all, some of you claim to believe in. It says a friend of the world is an enemy of Yah. And love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. For he that loveth the world, the love of the Father is not in him. Many of these leaders in Africa and these pushers of dealing with and supporting of these African leaders, they are friends of the world. So therefore, they are the Most High's enemies. And I know a lot of you are not going to like this. It is what it is, family. You can read this for yourself. Okay? Read this for yourself. We are being asked to support countries in Africa that are in full support of people like Benjamin Netanyahu and all of these Western powers and Eastern Chinese powers that are robbing the land, mistreating the people, treating them like dogs and animals. But we are being asked to support them, while at the same time they are doing this kind of stuff to African asylum seekers. Again, that's what I was talking about the other day when I said they're trying to get us to come there, while you have 40,000 Africans who left Africa to seek asylum in Israel. That's just those seeking asylum in Israel, not the ones who are traveling to other regions of the world. Why are they trying to get out of there? If Africa is the place to be, why are Africans trying to get the hell out of there? Okay, let me finish. I'm almost done. Worse, employees of migrants have also been directed to pay an additional tax to discourage them from employing the asylum seekers who are already grappling with finding jobs. So basically, they are saying even if you try to hire them, listen, family, that right there just brings tears to my eyes that our people are being treated like this. These people think this stuff is a game. They're mistreating our people, but then they come over there begging our people to support them because they believe themselves to be persecuted. And so this is the treatment that our people get when they go to Israel, in which that is our land. I don't believe that our land, Jerusalem, is in South Africa, and we will talk about that at a later date. But this is just utterly ridiculous. They treat our people like trash, but we pledge support to them. Since 2009, only 8 Eritreans and 2 Sudanese have been recognized as refugees in Israel. Only 8. Another 200 Sudanese and Darfur were recently granted humanitarian status. Currently, 27,500 Eritreans and 7,800 Sudanese are seeking asylum status to start a living in Israel. The African Union is yet to take action on the fate of these Africans who are in distress. Let me read that part again. It says the African Union is yet to take action on the fate of these Africans who are in distress. But we are being asked to trust the African Union. And many of you are just blindly giving your trust to the African Union, and they won't even help their own people. But you all are just so ready to send your money to them. A decision could be made on Israel's bid for an observer status in the African Union during the 32nd ordinary session of the Assembly, which will be held on February 10th and 11th, 2019 in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. So, we are a foolish people, foolish and sottish people, all around the world, in Africa, in America, in the Caribbean, in Europe, wherever we go, we are a foolish people. The people who do these damnable, devilish things to us. They call on our people to help them, while our people say, oh, we pledge our support. But we can't even help our own. These people treat us like trash, but we look down on our own. In the African Union, who's begging for money from those in the diaspora, can't even help their own. So do you still want to send your money to the African Union when it is said here that the African Union is yet to take action on the fate of these Africans who are in distress? If that is what you want to do, so be it. Have at it. But know this. When nothing comes as a result of you sending your money over there, I hope you are happy with yourself and your decision. Be sure to ring the bell to be notified of new uploads on this channel, and also comment, share, like, and subscribe.